Today, I'm excited to welcome Jack Kendrick to Tilty Music to chat about his musical career. Jack, welcome to Tilty Music. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Jack Kendrick, frontman. Well, I'll say frontman, solo artist slash frontman of a band called the Broken Wonders. Um, yeah, I don't know how else to describe myself other than that. So yeah.
Well, it's great to have you on. So, how would you describe the music you create?
Oh God. Um, it's like taking elements of traditional folk, country, and punk, and then making this mash of random noises. Or as I just say, I'm the shouty guitar guy.
Like it. So, what's been your favourite song you've written and why?
Oh, it's like trying to pick who's your favorite child.
I get that a lot when I ask this.
Yeah, it's it, it's weird. I think probably one of my favorite ones might have to be a song of mine called Untold Truths. Um, Purely because I remember doing this gig and the person setting it up was saying you can only do originals. I was like, yeah, not a problem, that's fine. And I got around to playing that song. It was like my second to last song of the set. And just before I jumped on to play my last one, she was like, "No, I said you can only do originals." And I was like, "I did. I wrote that." It's probably the best compliment I've ever had. But yeah, there's a toss up between that and a new song that we've just recorded called Next Year, which will be out on album two. And that, I think, from a playing standpoint, might be one of my favorites because it starts off really kind of proper folky and then all of a sudden kicks in with like distorted guitars and gets a bit punkier. I just like the juxtaposition of it.
So, what have been your favourite set of lyrics you've written and why?
Oh, there's ooh, two sets come from the same song, and I and it's a toss up. So there's a bridge I've written in one of my songs called Favorite Lie, and it the line goes, "Well, we're not in the same boat, we're in the same storm." And I enjoy that because it's like people, yeah, you can have a lot of the same issues, but not everyone can handle those issues the same way. And then from the same song, it's because it's the only time I've ever had someone moan at me for lyrics. And I take that more of a compliment because it means they listen to it. And it's in the second verse, it starts off with and I apologize now if you're religious or anyone who's watching this is religious. It goes, so well, we set our faith in a God we're told to believe, a copyright savior who never saves the day. But that's okay. There's more. That's okay. There's more to their plan. There's a bigger picture here that we don't understand. But I personally think that's, I don't know if you're allowed swearing, but shit. So yeah, there's those two I think, and they're from the same one.
So, in December, you were on tour. What was that experience like
Yes.
for you?
It was great. Bit different from the first time that I went out because this time I went out with two of my friends, Sam Tucker and Harrison Rimmer. They are phenomenal, phenomenal musicians, and it was very last minute. Well, I say last minute. Me and Harrison were playing a festival called DH Lawrence Festival out near Nottingham, and me and Harrison were just chatting, and we kind of went, "Oh, well, we've had some people say that we should do some gigs together." And then he just went, "Do it." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Do it." So I was like, "Right, who shall I message?" Message a guy called Neil, who like runs Root Rocks out Derby way, and he kind of just set up the first gig, and then from that, so me and Harrison have a very chaotic energy together. For some reason, and now whenever we gig, we get haunted by the Macarena, which has a whole other story. But
Sounds interesting.
people just do the Macarena at our gigs now, and we thought, well, how can we make this even more chaotic? So we added Sam Tucker to the bill because Sam is just this bundle of energy that you cannot contain, and I love the man so much. He's brilliant. Um, so it was a very big chaotic mess. None of the gigs were the same in any sense because the first one was just me and Harrison in this lovely tiny room, Doncaster Brewery and Tap, and we we didn't have set lists. We didn't know what we were going to do. We just knew we had the room. It was sold out, and we're like, cool, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And we ended up having a Wheel of Fortune situation. So we were both on the stage at the same time. I was on one side of the wheel, he was on the other. And what we decided to do is, before we knew what was going on, we'd dropping things apparently. We'd just spin the wheel, and whatever it landed on is
I
what we
like,
would do.
I like it.
A lot of the time it would land on do a cover or take a drink, tell a joke, or just random things. So yeah, that was a really, really fun and chaotic night. And then Nottingham the day after, well, actually, we went out to Preston first because we ended up throwing in a random gig um, because we could. Harrison was already going to do this. It was a charity event, and I can't remember the name of the charity, but I know it was for an 18-year-old who had passed. So it was like a charity set up for them and people that this is why it's going to really annoy me now. Harrison knows it. If a big charity sort of event set up for this disease, and I can't remember what it is, so I feel very insensitive about that now. But yeah, that was really lovely. I mean, so yeah, spent the night up in Doncaster, then straight up to Preston, then literally it was play and leave and get straight down to Nottingham for that gig. And that was another quite small, intimate gig, but then that had all three of us, and we were all jumping on and off stage like on each other's sets, just like we'd hear something. I think Harrison's got a song off his new out, I believe it's off his new album. And as he was playing it, all I could hear was Avicii, Wake Me Up. And then all the crowd could hear Avicii Wake Me Up, and you could only then, as he was playing, you just heard us, everyone do da 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 da. Da. And then I couldn't resist. And as he was playing, I jumped on stage, grabbed my guitar, and started playing that little bit as he was playing along. So then Sam jumped on the drum box and we were just jamming it out, and it was really funny. I mean, the gig was the tour was brilliant. But I always go a bit too far, and I lost my voice on the Sunday on the last gig. Um, and the moment it's gonna stick with me for a long time. It's not the first time I've played and lost my voice at a gig, but this one, it was I don't know how to describe it. It was just a very special like atmosphere. Um, the whole crowd just decided to sing my songs for me, so all I had to do was play them. And it was just really, really nice. I've never had a moment quite like that. I mean, I've had people sing along to songs, but not the whole song and just kind of gone, cool, I don't have to do anything now. And it was really, really nice. But hopefully I don't lose my voice again because I've got a fair few bigger gigs coming up this year, and I don't want to just blow my voice out. But yeah, overall it was fantastic.
So, what's your favourite song to play live and why?
Oh, currently there's a song of mine that's also coming out on album too. So what we tend to do is we'll play some of the newer songs just to see how they kind of are going to translate live. And song is called A Century Ago, and it has a lot of woes. The whole because originally I wrote the song to be a cappella, and then I realized that is terrifying, so I'm not doing that. Um, so we're in practice, me, my bassist Colin, and my drummer Jim, and we kind of just started playing along and jamming, and this kind of new version of it came about, um, and then it just kind of stuck, and then we're like, cool, that's now the song. And it's really, really nice because it's one of them that even if people haven't heard us before, anyone can do a woe. So they join in and sing along, and we did that at a festival called Dogfest, which was at the Clydodrome in Boston, and that was sold out. I think that was about 3,000 people or something like that. And we opened up the festival, and even then, you could see just people coming in, and then by the time we got to that song, it was just so loud. Everyone screaming back the woes. It was great. But
Um,
then with that song as well, it transitions really nicely into another one of our, well, it's not our song, it's a 200-year-old song, Haul Joe. And we have our own version of it, and it goes straight into the way we play it, and it's so fast. And my drummer has a habit of always making it faster, so I'm like tripping over words trying to sing and be a git. But yeah, there I think at the moment probably a century ago. However, I think once we start playing stuff off the new album, I have an idea of some that might take over that spot.
so if you could collaborate with anyone, who would it be and why?
Um, oh, there's so many artists. Uh, so one of the biggest cop out ones I could probably give people is Frank Turner because well, big Frank Turner fan. Probably one of the reasons I started playing the way I do was because of him. And if I, yeah, and I think I just the way he writes, I don't know. There's something about it to me that it's. I don't know because now I'm torn because actually there's at least another two that I would love to. There's Brian Fallon from the Gaslight Anthem who would be incredible to work with, and then actually completely left field, ironically, Taylor Swift. Like my missus is a big Swiftie. Like personally, not that massive of a fan. I've listened to the songs because when we have that rule in the car, she's driving, whatever she's listening to is on. It tends to be Taylor Swift. So I now know a lot of the songs. Um, but I think any musician or anyone in general who turns around and just say she's rubbish or anything like that, they don't really listen properly. Like she's a lot more of a musician than what people give her credit for, I think. Um, I mean, just take the Eras tour that she's just done. Like to be able to do 3 hour sets consistently,
Yeah.
and not only that, she also writes all her own music. Yes, she has collaboration and stuff. Like I think one of my I wouldn't go as far as say favorite album, but one of them would be like Red, which I believe Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol helped write, or at least collaborated with a couple of the songs. Um, and well, I love Gary. Actually, that's another one I would love to collaborate with Gary Lightbody. He is such an underrated lyricist. I think he's fantastic. I love Snow Patrol. Um, and I've gone off on tangent again, but yeah, yeah, definitely. Now it's hard to pick. Um, I've spoken about her a lot, so I'll just say Taylor Swift because it's left field, and people in my genre will be like, really? So yeah.
I like it. So if you could perform anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
I would love to go to Nashville. I'd love playing that. It is just steeped in history. Um, and I mean, whether or not I'd go down well in Nashville is another story, but I'd love the opportunity. I've never actually left the country. I've only ever stayed in the UK and only ever played in the UK. But I've been told a lot by a couple of friends who go touring and stuff like that. It's like you need to go to go to Germany. I'm like that'd be very cool, but Nashville though, um, it's like well they have South by Southwest and like everything. So it's like yeah, it's a massive music hub. Like I feel like wherever you go, it's just going to be steeped in like music and everything. It might be very different if I ever go there. I've never been, but I'd love the chance to go play. I think that would be where I'd love to go. That or Ireland. Again, don't know if I'd go down well. I'm not that Irish. I mean, I have Irish heritage, but I'm not that Irish.
So what's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody wanting to follow in your footsteps?
Um, do do what you're comfortable with. Like I've come from a very, very, very varied musical background where I've been in hardcore punk bands, I've done scream vocals for metal bands and stuff like that. And I've also done the really, really soft, like Ben Howard, Bon Iver kind of acoustic stuff. Um, and that's because it's always what I've wanted to do at that time. I've had friends in bands, should I say, not well, I have actually been in bands, but friends in bands that have stayed in certain bands because they thought, well, without them, and they if they wanted to do what they wanted to do, it wouldn't work out. Um, I think it's that thing of whatever music it is or whatever style it is, there's gonna be an audience for it. It might not be a big audience, but there's an audience. It's like I've always kind of liked, even when I was in the heavier bands and stuff, I've always had this weird, not obsession as such, but this kind of fascination with like Celtic punk and stuff like that. I love the blend of traditional kind of sounds with this more raunchy, not necessarily hardcore sound, but this more raw sound, and then just this colliding together. Um, and it's quite weird because I started off in like a really folky band when I first started playing properly. Like my first band, I was 14, and we were called Mellow Facility. Um, and then we ended up just gradually getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and then we ended up just being called Mellow, and we kept the name because it was ironic in the end. Um, but the progression from getting heavier and heavier and then changing, and then the band actually quit because, as I would say, is musical differences. There was other things, but part of it was because I wanted to take things in a different direction, and I wrote the songs anyway. The other two, they wrote their bits, but they weren't coming writing any of the songs or coming up going his lyrics or anything. So I wanted to then start jumping on my acoustic a little bit more because it's how we started the band. So I was like, I kind of want to go back to that. Um, and it, it kind of became that thing like when the band broke up, I was like, right, do I carry on with this or do I try and get another heavier band because that was working for us? Um, but then I decided ultimately just to stick with it. And then, so I was solo for a very, very long time. Um, Writing a lot of the songs that I now play live with the band. But uh, it's like because I've always felt like, well, if I don't do the music that I want to write, it's disingenuous, I suppose.
Yeah.
And people really relate to that genuine kind of feel you have. It comes across very like it really stands out in your own music. Like if you really mean it, you can tell that someone really poured themselves into a song. So I'd say, yeah, don't be afraid to do what you want to do. Even if it does seem quite scary and you're like, oh God, is this going to be the be all or end all? It's like, it's probably not as bad as you think it's going to be. Um, yeah. And yeah, I'd say that would probably be my biggest advice. The best bit of advice that I was ever given though was that hierarchy that you have in your head. Like, when you go see bands, you're like, oh, you shouldn't be here or stuff like that. There's a guy, well, you can't see the poster on there, but he's up here, called Paul Henshaw. I did a gig with him, and I ended up headlining the gig, like just solo headline. And I'd listened to Paul quite a bit, and he's been playing for years, and he was one of my supports. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. I feel like you should be headlining, not me. And he kind of sat me down. He was like, right, you know this hierarchy thing you've got in your head. He went, I'm trying not to swear. It's like it's bullshit. It was like it's a load of rubbish. Just forget about it. It doesn't exist. It's only in your head. People don't care. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still think about it a lot. Like we've got, I can't say the festival yet, but there's a festival that we've got a headline slot for. Um, and I'm like, I don't. Yeah, it feels weird headline it considering the other year. Oh, that might be too much of a giveaway, but we yeah we it just feels weird because especially when I see my name on the bill and I'm like, I've paid to see all of these people and now I'm up top.
Yeah.
It's a really weird feeling. But yeah, do what you'd want to do, and that hierarchy is a load of crap. It doesn't exist. Be comfortable. You wouldn't be given the opportunities if you didn't earn it majority of the time. So
Like
yeah.
that. So finally, what's next for you?
So next is album two. We were literally in the studio last weekend. Now have I say we? I've got three songs left to track guitars and four songs left to track vocals. Um, yeah, that's my main big thing. And then we've got a few festivals coming up. Like I said, we've got that headline one, which is I still can't quite get over that. Um, and then yeah, I'm waiting for some people to be very surprised with album two because it sounds very, very different from album one. There's a lot more. There's actually electric guitars on this, and for a guy that is very notorious for saying I don't do guitar solos, I've actually got guitar solos on this album. Um, and it's just like okay, um, yeah. I feel like a lot of people used to be confused, hopefully pleasantly surprised. Um, there's always going to be people that won't like it.
Yeah.
Um, but going off my own advice, it's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So it's how I've kind of taken the trajectory. There's the word. Um, had the really soft acoustic. Well, I say soft. It's not that soft, but kind of more chilled back, all acoustic album. I've done that. Cool. And then the next album's called Two Folk for Punk because someone said that to me once and I thought it was funny. Um, even though I've never claimed to be a punk, like ever. Because if people think they're punks and claim that they're punks, they're very clearly not a punk. Um, so I don't know, but punk's a very weird genre. I try and just everyone has their opinions. I'm like, okay, I'll stay out of it. But yeah, so someone said it to me once, and I thought it was funny, so I called it to Two Folk for Punk. And ironically, this is I wouldn't say it's a punk album, but it's punkier at least. A lot more driven guitars. There's an acoustic guitar in every single track. However, it might be buried beneath a load of other electric guitars, but there's acoustic guitar on every one. Um, so yeah, that's the biggest thing is album two, and hopefully that should be out. Fingers crossed if we get everything sorted. Should be out in November.
Yes.
Should be. Should, hopefully. Um, so yeah, that is the main thing, other than obviously playing some gigs and trying to home, maybe. I think the other two in the band were wanting to try and get like another tour this year. I presume if they wanted to tour, both of them are parents and stuff. So I'm just like, well,
Yeah.
see when you're free. I'm childless, and so it's like see when you're free, and I'll see if I can do it. More than likely, I can do it. So it's that's a possibility. Because I think they want to maybe have a venture up north, towards Scotland. Because we've had a couple people ask if we'd come and play. So we're not going to go up for one gig. That's a 7 hour drive, 8 hour drive for us to go up and play one gig to drive 7 or 8 hours back.
Yeah. Don't
Not happening. So if we can do it on like a little tour thing, we might
it.
make our way up and then bring ourselves back down. So that's a possibility for this year, if things go well. Um, but yeah, the music wise, that is the main thing, other than me just designing more t-shirts and album artwork because I'm a glutton for punishment apparently and won't let anyone else do it, so I just draw them myself. Well, I wanted to be a tattoo artist, so I may as well make use of being able to design something. So I'll do it now. Um, so yeah, album two, that's the main thing. That's the point I was trying to get at. See, I ramble. Uh, but yeah, album two, that's the biggest thing this year, I think, for us. And hopefully we have enough band funds to pay for it. Um, I mean, we've paid for half of it, but just trying to pay for the next half. That's going to be the fun bit.
So, massive thank you, Jack, for joining me on Totally Music. If anyone would like to check out his music, I'll leave all the links in the description below for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.